couple of graves down here, just beside them, are the Cohen family, and they're known as the pencil Cohens. And the reason for that is because they introduced pencil production in Ireland. Now it sounds kind of innocuous, but they made extremely good pencils. And what happened was this man here, Abraham Cohen, came up with a way of diluting graphite, which he could then harden at any strength he wanted. And 40 years after he was dead, people were lamenting that you couldn't get the Cohen pencil anymore. And they exported all over the world. But he's an incredibly eccentric man. And he was terrified that anyone would get the secret. So what he'd do is, the factory which they had in their house was split in half, and there was like a circular tunnel through the wall, and they'd hand him in the empty pencils and he'd fill them up and hand them back out. And he kept saying to his brother's children, listen, I'll tell you, one of these days I'll tell you the secret. But he didn't. And so when he died, the secret went. And he left a huge amount of money when he died. It was like £46,000, which at the time that he died would have been a couple of million. And the secret to the pencil making went with him. Right, now, his thing was patent medicines. Came here on the back of another member of his family. He was originally from the Gorbals in Scotland, in Glasgow. But the member of the family who was here before him, their speciality was the cure for venereal disease, which they did either through their clinic in Leeson Street, or they do mail orders. And looking at the amount of ads he had in Cllr papers, he must have done a big business thing there. But when Solomon arrived in Ireland, he called himself an active share. And what that means is he was a male midwife. He charged 10 and 6 for a consultancy, which is a lot. He set himself up into their street. But his other thing was his patent medicines, and his big thing was nerves. Now, initially it was aimed at the women who were pregnant, but as you read his descriptions, you start to realise that the patent medicine, as well as being good for women who were pregnant, also seemed to have been an extremely good cure for hangover. But the really interesting thing about him is his whole family are extremely musical. And they, his son Michael in particular, becomes president of the Royal Irish Academy. He leads most of the orchestras that are in Dublin at that time, at some stage of his life. He's also an arranger and composer, and at one stage he produces an opera where all the music was traditional Irish airs, and he always liked to put Irish music in somewhere. And given the location we're in, it's probably worth mentioning he arranged the music for a play called Dr. Faust. It was a kind of an operetta, and while there aren't too many descriptions, you can probably imagine at some stage Faust must have river danced somewhere across the stage. But the interesting thing about them is they ran a music school up in Frederick Street, and that music school turns up in Ulysses. And they produced quite a number of prodigies through that, but they also taught for free in the Central Model School in Marlborough Street as a way of giving back to the community. Right. Now you'll kind of notice one side of the tombstone is blank. There's a number of double tombstones. Like that's because under the Jewish rite, bodies are buried side by side. They don't stand. This is blank because his wife was a woman called Kate Lippman. He was married twice. His second wife was a woman called Kate Lippman, who was an ancestor of Maureen Lippman, the actress, and Lines, Teas, Houses and all of those, right? She died on Monday of Easter week 1916. And they couldn't get her across town, so she was buried in Dalton's barn. But there is a tradition that the grave isn't empty. And I was told this story about 6 or 7 years ago by a very old member of the Bricklayers Trade Union. And apparently in trade union circles, it was well known that there was somebody buried here. Because basically there was a grave available. And what happened was, there was a man, a lot of Jewish historians, not just Irish ones, pick up on a man called Abraham Weeks. Now, his name was actually Arthur Weeks, but James Larkin called him Abraham Weeks. Right? And in the 1940s, when Oliver J. Flanagan comes out with a very anti-Semitic speech in the Dáil, James Larkin stands up and starts shouting about Arthur Weeks, who was the first man to be killed in 1916, and he was Jewish. And the Jews had made a big contribution to Ireland. But Weeks got killed in the evacuation down Moor Lane. The thing is, there's about 5 people died exactly the same way as Wicks allegedly died. So nobody can be really certain about all the details. But it's believed that, and the other thing I should probably say is, Wicks wasn't Jewish. But everybody thought he was Jewish. But then some people thought he was German and other people thought he was American, because he was very, very good at working under the radar. He was very involved in trade unionism in London and in Dublin, and nobody knew an awful lot about him. But because they thought he was Jewish, it is highly likely that it would have been arranged, knowing that there was a grave available, that had probably been dug to put him here. Now that's the legend, but to go back to facts, in the 1940s, a member of the family died and asked to be buried with her father. And after a certain amount of paperwork going through the system, it was agreed that she could. And the council here agreed that she could. And then it came to the time of the funeral and it was refused. And she was buried in Donkey's barn, and there's never been an explanation. But at this stage I don't know. All that's known is that she was buried in Donkey's barn, but the permission, and there's still a copy of the permission that was given for it to be done. Right? But the way the story was told to me was they dug the grave and they found Arthur Wicks. And somebody had placed, he was a member of what was known as the Wobblies, or the International Workers of the World Trade Union, and apparently there was a Wobblies badge sitting on top of Wicks, so people would know who he was. That's the story I heard. So we don't know. I think it's a lovely story, and I'd hate to see the grave dug to find out whether it is or not. But officially, Wicks is in a mass grave in St Paul's in Glasgow. We're nearly there. The second grave down here, right? I thought we couldn't really leave here without mentioning the Rothschilds. There's 5 Rothschilds buried here. Now, they're not those Rothschilds. And there's still a lot of Rothschilds in Ireland. The most famous Rothschild now is Ava Rothschild, who's a sculptress. She's from Monkstown. But this man here, Fritz Rothschild, himself and his 2 brothers, they were all cigar manufacturers. Right? But Fritz had a bit of, they operated in Ireland around the time of the famine. They were here from around the 1720s upwards. But he was the one with a bit of vision, because while the other brothers, he started off out in Cllr, whereas the other brothers were in the centre of town and they worked their way out there. He decided to come into town and he opened a billiards hall in Temple Bar. But it's just about 150 years ahead of time. But what is interesting, and the main reason I brought it up, is because at the time, in the middle of the famine, people in Ireland were really taken aback, because the other Rothschilds, who aren't, as far as is known, related to them, Baron Philippe de Rothschild donated £10,000 to famine relief.
What?
And nobody could understand why, because that's just short of about €1 million today. And nobody could understand why. But these Rothschild's father was president of the congregation here in 1846. And so he would probably have been aware that there was a community of Rothschilds in Ireland. Right? And you can't help wondering, was it because he was aware of these that he donated the £10,000?
Yeah.